In the latter half of the 20th century, many key developments took place in Israel, which, together with the group's ethnic consciousness and past history, would play a great role in shaping Jewish thought. In 1967, the Six-Day War broke out, which was a brief conflict that saw a decisive Jewish victory over Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. This was a major confidence boost for the Jews, and left them controlling large swaths of land in the Middle East, which they later used to their benefit in making Egypt come to the table with the Camp David Accords. These new lands saw Israel's territory now contain large numbers of Palestinians, the original Muslim inhabitants of Israel's land. The question of what to do with these people now became part and parcel of national debate. Next was the Yom Kippur War, a surprise attack by a coalition of Arab states on Israel during the holy day of Yom Kippur. The Arabs made initial gains into Israeli territory, but the offensive soon stalled out and were beaten back. After driving the forces back from their territory, Israel's armed forces pursued the enemies into their home countries, taking major territorial gains. Once again, Jewish confidence was reinforced, as the country had beaten back at least 9 Arab states and affirmed the country's supremacy in the military and technological sphere. Nonetheless, even the most prideful Jews knew that there was no guarantee they could forever count on beating the Arabs on the battlefield, and soon these countries may catch up to Israel. The current situation was untenable. Later, another key event came when the Likud party, long in a contest with the left-wing Alignment Coalition, won a landslide victory in the 1977 elections, giving the group a huge boost in power and cementing its status as Israel's premier right-wing party. The last development was a gradual one, taking place since the country's formation. Israel's Orthodox communities, over a long period of time, had more and more been aligning themselves with the right of Jewish politics, and would soon shift into the main foundation of Israel's far right. These events led to a shift in Israel's internal politics. With the consolidation of power by the Likud, more radical members felt disenfranchised and forgotten by the party's senior leadership. Likud members were horrified that the first prime minister to relinquish territories regarded as part of Greater Israel came from the right, a reaction to Prime Minister Begin's negotiations with Egypt in the Camp David Accords, where he leveraged Egypt into recognizing the nation in exchange for Israel returning Egyptian territory, the Sinai Canal taken in the previous wars. These former Likud members started the Tehillah Party, which began to pressure the Likud from the right, presenting a new alternative for more hardcore Jewish Zionists. Soon other parties would form, which started to take share of Likud's vote and resulted in the win of Labor leader Yitzhak Rabin in the 92 election. Yitzhak Rabin would lead the country for 3 years until November 4, 1995. On this day, Rabin was attending a rally in support of the Oslo Accords in Tel Aviv when he was shot by an Israeli ultranationalist named Yigal Amir, who opposed the Prime Minister's policies of moderation towards Palestine. In the wake of the death, Labor was without strong leadership, and Likud, now under the leadership of Benjamin Netanyahu, ousted the former party from governance. Since Netanyahu's election, Israel has only shifted further and further to more radical forms of Jewish nationalism and irredentism, taking more dramatic positions on issues of state and religion, the powers of the Supreme Court, and, most importantly, the Israel-Palestine conflict. 7 of the parties that were elected to the Knesset in the last election in November 2022 make up Benjamin Netanyahu's current coalition. All of them can now be considered far-right, at least on some of the main issues. One of these parties is Jewish Power, whose members used to shout, "Death to Arabs," now replaced by "Death to Terrorists." The change in tone seems not to have taken on everywhere, however. In Jerusalem last May, citizens of the city chanted the old cry of "Death to Arabs," and new lines like "Muhammad is dead" in the city's streets, walking through the city's Muslim quarter. Likud, the far-right movement, and the ultra-Orthodox, All these are key elements to Netanyahu's preeminence in Israeli politics, a status he is now employing to gain additional power by weakening the country's Supreme Court. No doubt, Israel is headed down a certain path in its domestic and foreign politics, a path it seems reluctant to break away from. The Jewish nation still relies heavily on international alliances, and the appearance of the state is not insignificant for Netanyahu to maintain these alliances. Keeping the peace with Israel's Muslim neighbors is also important for stability, but Netanyahu seems keener on revisionism than peacemaking. How the country manages its Muslim population and how it handles its foreign relations will be essential going forward.